My 23 male sister, Elizabeth, and I were adopted. We have the same biological parents, but were removed from their care when I was 7, and Elizabeth was a baby. So we were placed in the system, and our first set of foster parents adopted us. They had an older biological daughter, Georgia, who was 10 then. Once it was finalized, my adoptive parents told Georgia and me they didn't want Elizabeth to ever know she was adopted. They said I was to pretend that they were our biological parents. I was confused and didn't understand why, but I eventually agreed. Georgia was more willing than I was. While we don't look much like our adoptive parents, we have similar hair colors and are of the same race and ethnicity, so it wasn't unbelievable. We moved states shortly after. Adoptive parents don't have much family, so it was easy to start over, and no one knew. Over the years, Elizabeth, Georgia, and I maintained a close relationship. Still, it was clear Elizabeth was the favorite. My mom at one point admitted they suffered from secondary unexplained infertility after Georgia. They only wanted a baby, but Elizabeth and I were advertised as a package deal. My parents and I aren't on bad terms. They never treated me less, and still, I know my place. I'm now 23, Georgia's 26, and Elizabeth is a teen. I recently got back in contact with my biological mother, Danielle, and it's been amazing getting to know her as an adult. She's 8 years sober and in a better place. She knows that Elizabeth is unaware that she's adopted. We were both unsure of how to proceed. The adoption was closed, so legally, Danielle can't reach out, nor can they have contact. However, I've always believed my sister should know where she came from. Eventually, I gave my adoptive parents an out. I said Elizabeth needed to be clued in. They refused. I said if they didn't, I would. They didn't believe me. I went through with it. Elizabeth was in shock and really struggled. I feel for her. Important, I have not and will not give her Danielle's contact information until she's 18. Danielle also doesn't know where Elizabeth lives. She's located a few cities away, or even our last name. Safe to say, Elizabeth is protected. My parents have cut all contact with me, but they still allow Elizabeth to speak to me because she threatened to do so anyway. Georgia's just angry and said I was wrong. She's gone low contact with me. Am I the idiot? I told her now because the longer I waited, I knew the harder it'd be to explain to her why I didn't tell her. I felt wrong for hiding it from her for so long. You are the idiot. You didn't think about your sister. You only selfishly thought of yourself and your feelings. She could have had 2 more years of stability, and you ruined that for her. You could have also put her in a very vulnerable position because you cannot know how your adoptive parents would treat her since she didn't react well and blamed them for keeping this from her. You made a selfish and impulsive decision that put your sister at risk. I'm with you on this, OP. The people who give you a hard time here probably hadn't experienced their parents or parental figures pressuring them to keep big secrets when they were children. So it was extremely unfair and wrong of your adoptive parents to demand that you keep this secret from your sister in the first place. They're responsible for this impossible situation you've been put in. Laying important secrets on a child's shoulders is wrong in and of itself, but secrets of this magnitude also create distance in relationships. How can you feel fully close to your sister when you're made to keep this from her? When you're made to not share this part of your common history with her, your memories of your life before the adoption? Both you and your sister have been wronged. On the same point, in pragmatic terms, the adoptive parents have absolutely zero right to declare that everyone should mislead Elizabeth about her family medical history. Adoptive parents made it clear they didn't want OP. When OP went against their wishes, they cut all contact. These people are abusive. OP is not the idiot. Update. She was at first defensive and said she didn't believe me. I then showed her pictures of us living with our bio parents. I also showed her some forms I have from my time in the system with our biological last names. She got very upset, and I comforted her. She eventually thanked me for telling her, and then became very angry. We were at my place when this happened. Finally, she went home and laid into our adoptive parents. When I was 14, I really started questioning my adoptive mom. That was when she told me about her fertility struggles. I asked why Elizabeth could never know, and she said they didn't want to be reminded that she wasn't theirs biologically. Adoptive mom didn't want to think of the pain, but Elizabeth shouldn't be kept in the dark for a moment longer. Oh, so it's literally just their pain they're worried about, not that of their child. This just confirms it for me. Your parents are complete idiots who don't see adopted children as really being their children. I'm also adopted, and I can't imagine my parents ever acting this way. I'm so sorry you and your sisters are dealing with this. Babies and children aren't accessories to cure adults' unaddressed infertility grieving. My parents didn't like the same names when they were expecting me, so Mom gave me a first name, Emily, and my dad gave me my middle name, Lake. I never liked my first name, and in school used Lake. By the time I was 16, I decided that when I was older, I'd change the order of my names. I did that officially a year ago. My mom has always called me Emily and has always insisted on using it, even when I asked her to call me Lake. She told me it was passable as a middle name, but that could not be the name everyone knew me as. Only it was, except for her. When I did legally change the names around, she was upset and told me she would still call me Emily. I asked her not to. She told me I couldn't expect her to toss away the name she lovingly gave me. I told her I should get to like my name too. She told me everyone loves Emily. It's timeless and sweet. I said everyone except me, and I said to please respect my decision. She argued with my dad over it repeatedly. After more than a year now, I put my foot down and told her to call me Lake and not Emily, or we'll need a break from each other. I told her she might like it, but she is ensured I never want to be called Emily again. I asked how she'd like it if someone decided to call her something she didn't like. Mom told me I was being unreasonable, and people make allowances for parents usually. I told her she had never once called me anything other than Emily, and it was making me wish I had dropped it entirely. Instead, she told me I was behaving like a spoiled brat. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Your parents gave you your names as a gift. You can do whatever you like with them, including changing them. You're not overreacting. Your mom is disrespecting you. And maybe call your mom by a different name. Middle name, if she has one, might hit harder. I suggest Gertrude or Gladys, nice old-fashioned names like Emily. She's still trying to exercise power over you. Tell her she gets to choose, a relationship with Lake or none with Emily. I had a nickname when I was a child that was very unfitting to my personality. No one has called me that name since I was 9, except my mother. To this day, and I'm nearly 50, she does it to be spiteful, and there's a power trip associated with her doing so. So now I just don't respond when she uses it. Sounds like your mother has issues seeing you as an autonomous person versus the child she wants to be the mother to. You have to live your life, and you should be able to be identified in a way that's comfortable for you and no one else. If this is the hill she wants to die on, instead of seeing how frivolous it is compared to who you are as a person and what it means to you, then she really needs to do some soul searching and ask herself why a name matters more to her than that character and happiness of her own child. Good luck, OP. My female 48, children Leah, female 26, and Kevin, male 21, are complete opposites. Kevin is a great student and a great athlete, has goals and works hard for them. Leah's the kind to have big goals too, but gives up very easily. Our children have had the same opportunities growing up, and neither has had to help or work more than the other did. Leah has tried many activities during her life. The problem is that if she's not excellent at it right away, then she gets frustrated and gives up. This is a pattern in her life. On the other hand, Kevin has always been into sports. He played football through school and baseball, basketball, and soccer. He's also better at school than she is. I think part of that is because he's had to keep up his grades to continue on the school team. Leah didn't have a reason to have great grades, so although she never failed a class either, her grades had always been lower than Kevin's. After graduating, Leah wasn't interested in pursuing further education, but still, As it would make my husband and I happy that she would at least try it, she did. She couldn't finish her second semester because she didn't like it. She got into a job after that, which is fine if she liked that. She and her boyfriend, they had been together since high school, got engaged that same year too, and Leah told us she wanted to be a mom. She felt like that was her call. She was very young, but I was too when I had her, so it's okay. She got pregnant, but she and the guy broke off. She couldn't take care of her baby, so my husband and I are raising our grandson. Now she's 26, and the truth is she hasn't fulfilled any of her wishes or goals. She doesn't have a career, is unmarried, and is not a mother. She does nothing of the care and doesn't live with us. Kevin won a scholarship because he's an athlete. Now he's studying at a prestigious university and is also part of his college's football team. He's fulfilling his dreams because he's working on them. Last week was Kevin's birthday, and our baby turned 21. So my husband and I planned a small party for him. We were all having a good time. Kevin was telling us how good his grades were last semester, and I told him we were very proud of him for working so hard. Leah told me I had never told her I was proud of her. I told her this was not the moment to talk about that because this party was for her brother, and she dropped it. However, she brought it up again the next day at my house. She asked me why I never told her I was proud of her. So I told her that I didn't feel like she had done something to be proud of. Like, I'm proud that she's a nice girl and is very respectful, but she still hasn't done something to fulfill her dreams and make us proud. She went off on me and accused me of telling her she was a failure, although I didn't do that. She was furious and left. My husband agrees with me, but she's angry. Am I the idiot? Our baby turned 21. Do you mean your golden child? Did you ever stop to think that one of the reasons Leah may give up so easily is that you've spent her whole life making her feel like it doesn't matter if she does well anyway, because in your mind, she'll never be as good as her brother. So why would she bother trying when her efforts are never recognized? While not taking responsibility for your own child is not a good thing, I also feel like you've brought this on yourself because of how you raised her. She is who she is because of you and your husband, so you are the idiot. You're honestly telling me that in 26 years, your daughter has done zero to be proud of? Wow. Her therapist must love the money that they're getting after this poor girl had you as a parent. Also, I feel like there has got to be missing info here. How and why did you end up raising Leah's child while she lives elsewhere on her own? Does she have mental health or addiction troubles? She was too overwhelmed and said she couldn't take care of her son alone. Initially, we were only providing better care, but then after talking to her ex, we agreed with him that my husband and I would share custody over her son with his bio dad. She does not have mental health issues and is not addicted to anything. Wait, so what happened? Did all of you just gang up on her and bully her into handing over custody because she was a single new mom? Man, I am feeling more and more sorry for your daughter the more I've read. She never even had a chance at having a fulfilling life because she spent her whole life being beaten down by the people around her. You and your husband are complete and total failures. Disgusting. I moved into this house a few weeks ago and have encountered an annoying issue. So behind my house is a small neighborhood park with a basketball court. Unfortunately, my house is directly behind the hoops, so an absolute ton of basketballs get thrown into my yard. Many kids always come to my door asking me to get their balls. If this happened once a day, I wouldn't mind so much, but it happens multiple times a day. The worst part is that it usually happens when I work in my home office. I sometimes have appointments with clients that I need to talk to uninterrupted. I also have other paperwork to get done and don't want to interrupt my workflow just to get some kids' basketball. So I put up a sign on my front door that said I would not be answering the door during this time, but would go pick up any balls that landed in my yard and leave them on my porch once a day in the morning. Well, various people have not been happy with that and want their balls back right away. Mainly my next door neighbor whose kids use the court a lot. The first day I didn't answer the door for her kids. She came over and pounded on my door. I went to see what was up because I thought it was an emergency and it was just my neighbor hulking about the stupid balls. Since she's so angry, I refuse to open the door and talk to her through the door. That makes her even angrier. I tell her I'm not talking to her unless she calms down. She sort of lowers her voice. Then she says I have no right to keep her kids' balls. I tell her I'm busy and doing work. She says since it only takes a minute to go and get their ball and her kids ask nicely, I should just do it. Even though it happens multiple times, so it's not just a minute. There's also an issue with the balls I leave on my porch being stolen by other people. My neighbor says that since I'm being an idiot and not getting their balls right away, I'm responsible for them, and I need to buy replacements. I said it was her problem and that she could talk to the city about installing some kind of net around the hoop. Not the idiot. I'm so sorry you have such total idiot neighbors. Apparently, they all assume work from home means available to do my bidding whenever I want, regarding basketball retrieval. Your work takes higher priority than your status as the sole member of the Neighborhood Basketball Retrieval Foundation. Apparently, the only thing that would satisfy your demanding neighbors is for you to fetch any rogue basketballs at once. If they want that, ask them to pay your salary so you can afford to do nothing all day except fetch rogue basketballs. Idiot. The problem of the age is with ball-attracting gardens next to a playground. As an owner of such a garden, your solution is quite acceptable. I've encountered such neighbors who would keep the balls or return them punctured. The real solution would be better fencing of the ball court, and it's a parks problem, not a you problem. OMG, I can't get over how awful this mom is being. She's taking away any sense of responsibility from her kids and teaching them that the best way to get what you want is to yell as loudly as possible. Stay strong, OP. Let this woman keep making a fool of herself. I, nearly adult male, was at a party last night. I don't remember the exact details of how it happened, but my friends and I went from talking about how I hit a new personal record in the bench press, 225 pounds, which I think is good for a fairly skinny guy, to my female friends asking to pick them up. Since I was sober and most were smaller than me, I didn't think it would be too risky. I was easily able to for most. A friend of a friend walked over and asked what was happening, and a friend explained the situation. She said she wanted me to pick her up too. She was significantly overweight, so I didn't want to try. She could send us both toppling over, which could injure both of us. Of course, I didn't want to tell her that outright, so I just said that I was tired and didn't want to make a mistake that could end in pain. She said if I was afraid of dropping her, we could do it on the grass, since that could cushion our fall. So I said, fine, whatever. I managed to lift her for a few seconds before putting her down, and she started laughing at me and saying that I was weak because I couldn't pick her up for long. I thought it was impressive to pick up somebody who weighed a lot more than me, but I just brushed it off. That is, until she interrupted a conversation later I was having with a friend about something completely unrelated to call me weak again. This irritated me, so I told her that deep down she knew that it was her weight, not me being weak, that was the issue, and that she was just projecting because it's easier to attack me than admit that she's fat and cause the issue. This caused her to get upset and called me an idiot for insulting her weight before storming off. I don't think so. I had already brushed off her insulting me, but now she went out of her way to insult me again. We wouldn't have this issue if she didn't go out of her way to find me and call me weak again. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You literally tried doing everything nicely to avoid saying anything and avoid the situation. She then made it a point to embarrass and shame you afterward. It's also a situation that directly correlates with weight and strength. So if she didn't want the other part of the equation mentioned, she should have just dropped it instead of harassing you. LOL, right for the jugular. You held your tongue for the first few times, and your restraint was admirable. When she tried to bring it up again in an entirely unrelated conversation, her poorly disguised intent was to embarrass you. I'm certain she didn't expect that. Good for you for putting the issue to bed. You did nothing wrong. Your rebuttal was fair and deserved.